welcome back to Katie's Favorite Recipes. Today I've got 3 great crockpot recipes I think you all are going to love. The first one is cheesy potatoes with smoked sausage. The second one is chicken and potatoes. And the third one is beef tips with gravy served over mashed potatoes. These are all really easy to throw together, so I think you all are going to love these. These did give me and my family of 4 leftovers, so that made it really easy for the next night for dinner or lunch or whatever. But I think you all are going to really enjoy these. So let's go ahead and get started with the cheesy potatoes and smoked sausage. For this cheesy potato and smoked sausage recipe, I'm using about 4 pounds of peeled potatoes, and I'm just going to dice those. You are more than welcome to use frozen diced potatoes and just dump those in the crock pot. I just really wanted to do fresh today, so that's why I'm doing this. But to keep it simpler, feel free to grab you a couple bags of frozen and just dump them in. But I am just dicing these up, and then I'm going to do 1 small onion as well, and I'm going to dice that up. And then after I finish dicing my potatoes and my onion, I'm going to go over to my crock pot and start mixing up my cream mixture. And for this, I'm going to be using 1 can of cream of mushroom soup. Just the standard size can, which is about 10.5 ounces of that. Next, I'm doing a small cup of plain Greek yogurt. This is like the 5.3 ounce cup, so basically half a cup, just barely over half a cup of plain Greek yogurt. You are welcome to do sour cream. I just prefer Greek yogurt in my recipes over sour cream. Once I have mixed up my cream mixture, I'm going to add in my potatoes, and I'm going to mix that up just right in the crock pot and get everything really well and coated. And then after I do that, I'm also going to add my onions in and stir those up as well. And just mix it all up. And I'm going to move on and chop up my smoked sausage. So I did 2 packs of skinless smoked sausage, and I just chopped those up into little coins. And the good thing about this is they're fully cooked already, the ones I got, so I don't have to really worry about getting them the exact same size so they'll cook uniformly. If you would rather quarter this into smaller pieces, that's fine too. However you want to do it. These recipes do not have to be exactly how I make them or exactly how I do them. These are just ideas for you to do for your family. So once I chop up that package, I'm going to go ahead and add it in and stir it up. And then really, I'm going to season this up, and that's all there is to it. This really is not a hard recipe. I did make a big batch of it, so I'm doing half a teaspoon of salt. And then I'm going to do about 1/4 teaspoon of black pepper, 1/2 teaspoon of garlic powder, 1/2 teaspoon of onion powder, and 1 teaspoon of smoked paprika. If you don't have smoked paprika, you can use regular paprika, but you do not even have to use any of these if you don't like them. It's a good thing about cooking in your own kitchen. You can do your recipes how you want and flavor them the way you like it. So once I finish adding all of my seasonings onto this, I'm going to stir it up really well to make sure that everything gets a good coating of these good seasonings. If you wanted, you could put the seasoning in the cream mixture when you're mixing that up, and then just mix it all together at once in the beginning, but I just did it this way. And now that we've got it all mixed up, we are going to let that cook for about 4 hours on high, 6 hours on low, and then we are going to throw in our sharp shredded cheddar cheese or any cheese that you like. I did about 2 cups of this, and I'm just gonna stir it up and put the lid back on it and let that melt down. It doesn't take long, maybe 5 minutes, 10 minutes. And that's it. I served mine with fresh corn on the cob, and we loved this recipe. It was so good. And it was super simple to throw together in the crock pot. For this next simple recipe, I'm doing chicken and potatoes in the crock pot, and I just did 1 bag of baby yellow potatoes. I think that these are really good, but if you want to do red potatoes, you can do that, or you can do even regular potatoes. But I'm just going to quarter these up, and once I finish that, I'm going to dump them in the crock pot. Next, I'm going to go over them with salt to taste. I just salted them until I could just see a little bit on them. And then I poured 1 cup of chicken broth into the crock pot over top of that. I'm also using black pepper, and I'm just going to do that to taste. And then I will do Mrs. Dash original seasoning. The good thing about this is it's salt free, so I don't have to really worry about getting too much saltiness in this. And I'm using chicken breast tenderloins. I did 1.5 pounds of that. And I'm just layering those on top of my potatoes. I'm going to go over those with salt, pepper, and original Mrs. Dash as well. So I'm just going to give those an even coating of everything. I'm going to do this on one side of them and just go over it a couple times with everything. Make sure you can see the seasoning. Once I finish sprinkling all of that over top of that, I'm actually going to flip these over and do the other side. Make sure that I get everything well and coated. I just did it all in the crock pot. If you want to do this on a separate plate or anything like that, that's fine too. I just wanted to keep the dishes down and do it all in the crock pot that I could. So I'm going to work on getting these all flipped over now and making sure that I just go over it evenly. If you want to leave the salt out on the other side to keep it from being a little too salty, that's fine. And then once I finish doing that, I'm going to do 1 teaspoon of Italian seasoning. And I'm just going to sprinkle that over top of everything just on one side and let that cook for 3 to 4 hours on high or 5 to 6 hours on low. And this is finished. It was so good. It was full of flavor, and this was really easy to just dump in the crock pot. I served this with corn, and it was super good. For my last recipe, I'm doing beef tips in the crock pot, and I'm going to serve this over mashed potatoes, and this was so good. I think this was my favorite out of the 3, but I finally diced up a small onion. I used half of it, and then I did 2.5 pounds of stew meat, just because it was already chopped up. I did cut the really big pieces down, but you can use roast, you can use steak, whatever you want. And then I poured 2 cups of beef broth over top of that. Next, I am going to put in my finely diced onion, and I'm just going to sprinkle that over top of that. I'm also going to be using 2 packs of the envelope brown gravy mix. Reduced sodium, you can use regular or reduced, either one. After that, I'm going to be doing 1 can of cream of mushroom soup, which is 10.5 ounces. And once I finish putting that in there, I am going to do my Worcestershire sauce, which I did about 2 tablespoons. And I just poured that right in there. And I will do some salt and pepper to taste as well. If you don't want to add any extra salt or pepper, that's fine. Just leave it out. And once I finish doing that, I'm just going to stir this up right here in the crock pot. And this recipe was super easy. It turned out amazing. We loved it. It is something I definitely will be making again and again. This would also be good for a Sunday dinner. But I'm going to throw 2 tablespoons of butter on top of that. And I'm just going to cover that up and let it cook for about 4 to 5 hours on high or about 6 to 8 hours on low. You want to make sure that your meat is cooked all the way through and super tender. But I was checking the thickness of this. I wanted to wait till it was done to see how thick the gravy would be. And I wanted it to be a little bit thicker. So I did about a tablespoon of cornstarch. And I just mix that up in there. If you want to put the cornstarch in the beginning, you can feel free to do that. But I just waited till the end to see what it come out like. And I'm just going to cover that up and let it thicken up for maybe about 5 to 10 minutes. And it come out to be the way I wanted it. I wanted to keep this recipe super simple, so I just did instant buttery homestyle mashed potatoes, and I served this over top of that, and this was amazing. I think you all will love these. Thank you for watching, and make sure to like and subscribe. Enjoy!